What is up, everybody? This is Lloyd from Iron Dog Journey, and today I'm just doing a little experimenting. I have a microphone that I drug out of the depths as we moved, and I found it, and I said, hey, let's see what that microphone can do. So I'm playing with it a little bit. Secondly, it's cold as hell outside. We all of a sudden had a temperature drop. We've had beautiful weather. In fact, this week I think it's going to get up to 70, but for whatever reason today is super cold. And so I'm out in my new wood panel studio, I'm calling it. But it's cold out here because it's a garage, and that's what happens. But the third thing I want to talk about is success with fitness, or whatever success it is that you think you're trying to attain, and why this success doesn't seem to ever happen for a lot of people. And I think mostly it's because of our expectations. We're expecting something to change, but the fact is we're working on the wrong thing. In the fitness realm, for instance, let's say you want to, build muscle, get a six-pack, just lose weight, get off the couch. I mean, there's so many levels of fitness, of course. But it seems pretty elusive to ever really get there. And the reality is you're either probably trying to fix something from childhood. You're trying to impress somebody. You're trying to love yourself. You're trying to find love. You're trying to fix something through something else that won't ever fix it. So you work out like a fiend, or you never get started because it's too daunting, And the reality is, you're probably not going to fix what you were trying to fix. It doesn't hurt. I'm definitely pro fitness, obviously, if you watch my channel. But the goals you seek are really probably more along the lines of mental clarity, healing some childhood wounds, fighting some demons that you have inside that's telling you you're not enough somehow. Because the reality is, when you truly feel comfortable in your own skin and you feel confident, you love yourself, the rest is irrelevant. Exercise makes you feel great, makes you feel really good in many ways, mentally, physically, spiritually. It gives you something to work on. Fitness is an amazing tool, but it can also be extremely detrimental if the real problem is you're chasing some demon that's lying deep within you, and you compare yourself to other people. You compare yourself to other, YouTube channels, or workout styles, or techniques, or how much somebody can lift, or how many reps somebody can do, or you're probably not going to find a lot of happiness there, because the truth is none of that stuff probably matters that much to you. You think it does, but it really doesn't. Again, you're trying to fix something else, but unfortunately you're not seeing that, and you're wasting your time. Again, keep doing it, keep working hard, but maybe think about your perspective. Maybe think about what really is important. What are you trying to do here? I mean, I think it's pretty important to figure out what you're trying to do. All right, so maybe you're saying, Lloyd, that's ridiculous. I just love to work out. I'm a badass mofo. I just like to work out because I'm so effing cool. Okay, so do that. I mean, first of all, I would never tell you what to do or what not to do. I don't care what you do or what you don't do. But A, again, I'm experimenting with this new microphone. And B, I really want to help people. I do. I've struggled my entire life with trying to figure out the whys and the whats. And I love to exercise, but then all of a sudden you're like, why am I doing this again? Because the reality is, why are you doing it? Are you trying to impress somebody? Are you trying to feel better about yourself? Do you just want people to like you? Do you want to be loved? What do you do it for? Does it make you feel good? I mean, most time, I don't even know how aware people are of why they do things. You probably tell yourself, no, I just like the burn. I like to work out and sweat, and it just feels good. Or whatever excuse you have. And maybe it's all legit. I'm not going to tell you it's not. But you should sometimes ask yourself, what am I trying to accomplish here? Really, what are you trying to accomplish? Because if it's just to impress people, you'll never impress anybody. And if you do impress somebody, you're not going to impress the right somebody or enough somebodies. Because the reality is, nobody cares. Everybody's working on their own crap. Everybody's working on their own BS. Because that's what we do. As humans, we're kind of self-centered in that area, unfortunately, because we all have this scar from growing up that somehow we're not enough. Somebody was better, whatever the deal is. And at the end of the day, what you really need to do is just figure out, what do you want? What exactly is your goal? And regardless of what that is, obviously it's better to do something than nothing. But my advice would be to journal. First of all, journaling is amazing. I journal every single day, at least some. Some days I write and I write and I write. Other days is very little. It might be a sentence, but I start with thinking about what I'm thankful for. And then I rarely complain in my journal. I try definitely not to, because I feel like it reinforces that negative feeling or vibe or whatever it is that you're going through. You can definitely write down your struggles, but try to keep it in a neutral place if you can. Almost a third party, like it's your therapist almost. I mean, that sounds weird even when I say it. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. But I think it's good to journal. Get your feelings out. Get your frustrations out if you have to. Your fears, the things that you don't tell people, the things that you have too much pride or ego to tell people. The journal is a great place to start. But another thing that I do in a journal is I start to write down goals, or I just daydream goals. I think as big as humanly possible, because in your mind, you can do anything. Like, there's no limits in your mind. Now, when that thought comes out of your mind and into the real world, okay, now we have all kinds of limitations that we've put on ourselves, that we feel that others have put on us, that physically we have or financially we have. But in your mind, there's no limits. So if you're journaling, think big. What do you want? And explore. Why do you want it? Really, why do you want it? And sometimes we don't know. And sometimes it's better just to go do something than nothing. But I would start with figuring out, what do you want? And then start writing down, how are you going to get it? Realistically, what are you going to do? What's your daily action plan to go get it? And explore what would happen if you did get it. If you got that six-pack, or you were able to do 500 reps, or whatever it is, lose the weight. You want to lose 20 pounds, 10 pounds, 40 pounds, 100 pounds. What would happen? What would change? Would people all of a sudden now like you? Would you love yourself? What exactly would happen? You have to kind of think about that. Like, it kind of might give you a little insight into why you're doing it in the first place, because you might realize some things are really important to you and some things really aren't. And some things aren't what they seem. But it's good to explore those things, and a journal is a great place, you know. I mean, I honestly recommend counseling to most people. Um, but let's face it, sometimes that's uncomfortable. And by counseling, it could be a friend, it could be a family member, it could be your parent. But the reality is, you're probably not going to talk to those people and be completely honest on how you feel about things. So the journal, to me, is a great counselor, therapist, because there's nobody there to judge you. You don't have to hold anything back. You can say what you want to say. I highly recommend journaling. Give you a little bit of clarity on where you're trying to go. And then once you have that kind of vision as to where you're trying to go, then you just need to start creating that roadmap to get there. You know, what steps are you going to take? What practical steps can you take every day? You know, set some goals for yourself. You know, like, by this time I want to do X, Y, Z. Okay, great. So how are you going to do that? You know, start making that plan that you can actually accomplish. Like for me, for instance, I was at about 210 pounds for a long time. I'm 6 foot. I was at about 210 pounds for a long time. But it wasn't like a good solid muscle or anything like that. I was just overweight. I was just very overweight and very dumpy and very insecure about my body. I really hated it, and I have for most of my life. Not a huge fan now, but I'm much happier now than I've ever been. But I was at about 210, and my goal was to get down to 170. And, you know, of course, everybody has an opinion. Oh, that's just too skinny, and you're going to be too skinny, blah, blah, blah. But here's the reality is. Here is the reality. Nobody can tell you what you need. You know what you need. You definitely know what you need. Whether it's right or wrong, you know what you need for you. And for me, I just wanted to see what it felt like, because for whatever reason, when I was in high school, I was a skinny kid. I was 6 foot. I was 125, 130 pounds. I was very skinny. And I got made fun of, you know, in junior high. And, you know, I was very skinny. My stepfather made fun of me, said knobby knees. And he would just make comments and made me just feel really bad about myself. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of my stories. But bottom line is, I was very, very skinny. And then I got old enough, you know, in my 20s to, you know, have my own money, have my own job. I got married, and I thought, you know, I could buy whatever I want now. Well, I could go out to fast food, essentially. And I started drinking soda, and I started eating fast food, and I ate it like there was no tomorrow, because suddenly there was nobody to control my food. There was nobody to tell me that I can't do it. And so I did. And I gained a lot of weight. Flash forward, you know, for the last several years, I've been around 210, which is not my weight. I tried to run a marathon 2 years ago, and I tried to get in shape for it. I told myself I was going to get in shape for it, and I started trying to run, which was terribly hard to run when you're that out of shape, physically out of shape, mentally out of shape. Couldn't run down the block without stopping and breathing so hard. And so I did run the marathon, and I was the very, very last person to finish it. Dead last. I was the dead last person to finish the finishing line. There was no crowd. There was nobody cheering me. I did get the little medal. There was maybe 5 people there. The guy that handed out the medal said, "You're the very last one. Here you go," you know, and everybody was packing up. There was no music. It was a low point. I mean, it was a high point that I finished it because I accomplished something that was pretty amazing to me. But at the same time, I just felt like, man, it just reinforced that bad tape in my head, you know, like, oh, look, what a loser. Nobody's here. Nobody cares. You're so slow. And it turns out I ended up having a pacemaker put in, but that was 2 years ago. Well, the pacemaker was a year ago. But at any rate, flash forward, I decided that's it. I'm not going to take this anymore. I'm not going to be that guy anymore. And so I did get down to 170. And of course, it was mostly running, so I didn't really build a lot of muscle. Surprise, wasn't that happy with my body. Felt good to be thinner, for sure. My clothes fit a lot better, and there was definitely improvement there, but yeah, God, guess what? It didn't fix that childhood tape that said, you're skinny, nobody likes you, you look goofy, people are staring at you because you look goofy. I mean, stupid. But that's what your brain does to you. And so then I started lifting weights. This whole last year I've been lifting weights. And then, I have, if you don't know, I had heart surgery 18 years ago. Now I have the pacemaker and I have an aneurysm on my aorta. So, and it's at full capacity. So it's, I'm probably going to need another surgery. And so I'm always terrified, that my heart's going to give out, that the aneurysm's going to burst and I'll be dead. But I've kind of lived with that my whole life. But in chasing that elusive dragon, for sure I've been exercising and trying to get in shape and be more muscular and not be skinny fat. So flash forward to today, I'm sitting at around 180, and I have a lot more muscle than I ever have in my life, which is crazy because I'm not a muscular person, or I'm still skinny. At least that's how I see myself for sure. And I still don't like my body, but again, it's much better. But here's the funny thing: you have to ask yourself when you look in the mirror. I have to ask myself, what are you trying to accomplish? Because you put in all this work over and over. And don't get me wrong, there's something magic in doing the work. But what goal am I really trying to get to? Because at the end of the day, I don't care if people like me. Most people don't. I don't know why. At least if they do, they don't tell me, because I'm a pretty isolated person. I think I isolate myself out of insecurity. I don't really know. In real life, I don't really make close friends at all. I mean, there's nobody calling me up. I don't know how I come across to people, but at the end of the day, I keep exercising, and it's part of my life now. And the goals have changed. I don't really have any goals, to be honest. I need to make some goals. But what I discovered was everything that I was working for was, I think, just to make myself feel better, to finally be that person that people go, wow, look at that guy. He looks good, or he's cool, or man, he's so fit. And then I started realizing I don't care, and nobody cares. Literally nobody cares. Nobody's looking at me. Nobody cares. And if they did, I wouldn't know it anyways, because nobody tells me. So I think that's where I'm coming from with all of this so-called advice. I've learned a lot of lessons throughout my life because I've struggled with it. And I'm probably talking to myself, because most of the people, if anybody listens to this in the first place, they're probably like, oh, well, I don't have any of those problems. Fair enough. That's cool. If you don't, then, well, I'd be surprised you'd be still listening, to be honest with you. But I think we all have, our own demons in our own way. But all of that story to say, figure out exactly what do you want. And you're not going to figure out your entire life in, one fell swoop. You gotta figure out, what do you want? Write down, what do you do? What do you plan to do to get it? And then the third step is start doing it. Like, immediately start doing it. Go do something. Don't let it just be some conversation, some dream, some passing thought. What do you want? Go get it. Write it down, figure out your steps, and go do it. And then don't stop. Because the reality is, you're probably not going to get it. Not right away. It's going to feel like, what am I doing? You might see a little result here and there, and then you're going to be like, why am I doing this? Because you didn't figure out, why are you doing this? The reality is it probably should be for you, not for anybody else. Don't do it for anybody else, because that's a losing game if you're trying to do it for anybody else. Do it for you. Now, the only caveat to that is if you're trying to live. Like in my case, one of my main goals is to stay alive, for my wife and for my daughter. Our daughter's 3.5 years old. I'm 53. She's 3.5 years old. I need to see her grow up. So I need to be alive. So that's why I exercise. I can't afford to not take care of myself. I can't afford to be out there drinking and eating terrible and just not caring, because guess what? It's going to shorten my lifespan, and that's going to leave her without a father. So, I got enough heart issues as it is without, being stupid on top of it. But all of that to say, give it some thought on what you're trying to accomplish. And I know this is probably, a rambling video, just me, blah, blah, blah. And the reality is it kind of is. What I probably will do with further videos, is write some notes, figure out what am I trying to accomplish here with this video, write some notes, stay on track, that kind of thing. I'm riffing here. It's an improv session, and it's kind of fun, at any rate. But that's pretty much what I've got. So again, I'll say it one more time. Write down, first of all, journal. I would recommend journaling. Start today. Just begin writing down your thoughts. How are you feeling today? Be grateful. Start with an attitude of gratitude. Start figuring out what it is that you do and you don't want in your life. Focus mostly on what you want, not what you don't want. And then start writing down your goals. What is it that you want to accomplish? Write down the biggest goal you can possibly think of for yourself. And then write some smaller, more attainable goals. And then write a list of what are you going to do to get it. For instance, I'm going to work out 3 days a week. Great. Which days? What time? For me, I work out. I set my alarm for 4:44 a.m. every morning. And I started doing that a few years ago because I didn't have time in the afternoon. If I said, I'll work out in the afternoon, there's way too many times when it's like, oh, life gets away from you, you work late, all of a sudden I don't have time to work out, the weather, whatever. But guess what? At 4:44, my day doesn't change a lot. There's not many days when I can't work out. Every now and then I got to go into work early, and so I got to cut the workout short or skip it, and that's okay. You got to be graceful with yourself. But pick a time when I'm not a morning person, but guess what? Discipline is hard. Goals are hard. You can't say, well, it just doesn't feel good. I don't feel like doing that at this time. Okay, don't. And watch your goals never happen. So for me, I just set that alarm, and I've trained myself. That alarm goes off, I don't hit snooze. I turn it off, I get up, and I make my side of the bed, and I get out. I do it. I have a plan the night before. I've got my clothes ready. I don't have to think about anything. I know what I'm going to do in the morning. If it's a run, if it's, burpees, if it's hitting the heavy bag, if it's riding my bike or going to the gym, or I've already planned it. I know what I'm doing, and I know how long I'm going to do it, and I can watch the clock. I know how much time I need to have to get ready for work. There's no excuses. And during the day, you know what? How do you control your eating? Well, guess what? I have a little lunch bag, and in the morning, I make my lunch. I make a salad with chicken, and it's a delicious lunch. And then I have my first snack and my second snack, and then my drive home snack. I've got it all planned out. I put it all in the bag. I have an apple and a banana every single day. If you want something, stop making excuses. Go get it. And if you don't know why you're doing it and you just want to start, that's amazing. Do that. But I'm just encouraging anyone that's already doing something or doesn't know why they should start, explore it. Explore why you're doing it or why you think you want to start. But it's not to discourage you from doing it, because doing it is the biggest part of it. But, okay, again, I'm rambling. But it's been enjoyable. I want to make more videos. I'd like to have a little better production value. I'm using a GoPro right now just because even though I am a photographer and videographer, I don't have anything set up in the new house. I don't have my cameras. There's no lights. There's none of that stuff. My GoPro was the easiest way to make it happen. So I got a GoPro, but I do have this cool mic, so hopefully you can understand what I'm saying. And I got a runny nose because it's cold as hell out in this garage. Okay, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful Sunday. If anybody's listening, that's awesome. If not, it was really good to experiment. So go out there, make yourself better, make people around you, make their lives better if you can. Do something for somebody else. Sometimes it's not all about us. Sometimes it's about helping other people and making the world a little bit better for us being in it. So for whatever that's worth. All right, everybody. This is Lloyd from Iron Dog Journey, and I will see you next time. Peace.